Sweet, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another video. I am continuing my series on the best and worst horror films of the 80s. Now, I've already done part one and part two. This is going to be the third one. I'm going to try to break this down to four, but it looks like it might be five. So, um, let's see how this goes. Um, Let me stop saying because that's very unprofessional. Like I'm being very professional in this video. But anyways, in 1980 we had the original Prom Night, and it featured a group of friends that shared a dark secret, who on the prom night were being haunted or stalked by a killer. When I watched this movie last year, I believe it was, I thought it was actually pretty good. Now, as far as it did a great job of doing something I haven't seen done in a long time, build up. This movie does a great job of building up the characters for the majority of the movie, and then in like the last maybe 40 minutes of the movie, have the stalking and the killing, have those things start jumping off. I really appreciated about this movie. Thought it was really well done, and I would say it's probably one of my favorite slasher films of the 80s. Now, coming in 83, we have Stephen King's Christine. I thought that this movie was going to be a bit cheesy, and to some extent it was really cheesy, but it was a great story. I really love the subtleness of the buildup of this film, about the car, how it's possessed, the things that it would do for its owner. I really thought that was a great idea. I thought it was a really original idea. There are some aspects of the film that I wish could have been worked out a little bit better, especially when it comes to the people, those greaser guys that was messing with the main character. And honestly, I would like to see this movie be made, like remade. I'm sorry, I would like to see it be done that way. But horror film, it was a great movie. It was a great Stephen King movie. I really enjoyed it. It had enough depth to it to just keep me invested. I really thought the characters were pretty interesting, and I loved the flow of the story. In 1988, we have Pumpkinhead, and Pumpkinhead is basically about this vengeance demon that is summoned after these motorcycle guys end up killing this little boy. As far as the idea is concerned, I really enjoyed the idea. Thought it was a great and interesting story. The characters could have been done a little bit better. The practical effects when it comes to the gore, the kill sequences, and even the monster itself, really good. I thought the monster design was pretty cool. One thing I don't like about it is, and I guess it's because of budgeting reasons or something like that, I don't like that they went with the whole slow killer theme, like what they do with Jason or what they do with Michael Myers. Like the only way you can get killed from a slow moving killer is to basically get yourself killed, and I think in this film they kind of do that. I really enjoyed the film though. I really liked the practical effects. I think the story was really interesting. Just really wish they could have tied up a little bit better with the characters and some moments in the script. That being said, let's go to, I want to say Night of the Comet, which came out in 84, but I don't remember. I remember it had something to do with this comet shot through the air, and people that looked at it either turned to dust or they turned to these like really pale zombies. But that's about it. That's about all I remember of it. Now, of course, in 87, one of the best sci-fi horror movies came out, and that, of course, is Predator, featuring Arnold Schwarzenegger. One of the movies to put him on the map, as well as the Predator franchise. It follows this group of special ops guys, I guess you could say, special forces guys. Are in the jungle, and they end up getting stalked by this alien creature that enjoys hunting different species for sport. It's a great movie. It's got great, memorable characters. It has a really good, suspenseful build to it, especially with you not understanding what's going on, who's stalking them, what's stalking them, how they're going to combat this threat. It's a great movie. Great use of like the practical effects, very intense action sequences, Great lines between the characters. Just one of the best movies in terms of sci-fi and horror done really well. And I like the fact that it's got these like military cats to it, so you think it would be more of an action film, but it's not. I like how they balanced it. I like how they put that focus on it. I thought it was done really well, and I really appreciated what they did with this movie. Something that this a lot of movies nowadays are sorely lacking. But I digress. Now I did see Warlock when it came out in '89, and this thing is an interesting movie. Having this evil magical user being brought back from the past to the present day, and seeing how he has to interact with normal society and the things that he can do and how much of a dick he is was a really interesting plot. I thought the main guy that played the character did a really good job, and I really enjoyed this guy from other movies. His name is I'm sorry, guys. Just give me 1 second. I'm sorry. Julian Sands. I have enjoyed Julian Sands. Does play a really good villain in this, and I love the dark theme of it because it comes across as like a dark fantasy in some ways, and even as such, it's done really well. Really interesting film, a really interesting story. In '86, we had the movie House, which I thought was an interesting movie. Could have been done better, but it was a really interesting one. I want to say it was horror, but I want to say it was somewhat fantasy and somewhat comedy. That's something, a movie, I don't want to say it was a terrible movie, but it wasn't really good either. And then there was a sequel, House 2, which honestly, that movie was quite a bit of a travesty. When I was a kid, I watched it. I thought it was a good movie then because it had some fun moments in it. But now I think about it as a horror movie, as a movie that has a fantasy aspect to it, is very inconsistent with the story. Just the script itself doesn't make it sense. But this is one of those '80s movies, horror movies, and sometimes the '80s horror doesn't really take itself seriously. It was one of the things I was saying about the Return of the Living Dead films. They don't really take themselves serious. They're kind of goofy. At the same time, they're kind of serious. So, House and House 2, I guess they're decent, but nah, not really. Friday the 13th 2, the same problems that I've seen in the first film I felt were in this one as well. Basically a complete copycat. In fact, just going down the list of all of the Friday the 13th movies, for the exception of Jason Takes Manhattan and I believe New Blood, which I think New Blood is the one with the psychic girl. Let me check that out just to make sure. I believe that's the one with the girl with the psychic powers. Yes. Most of the other ones, Friday the 13th, 2 through 5, no, 2, I don't want to say 3. Yeah, 2, 3, and 5, and 6. All of those are just basic rehashes of each movie. All these movies came out in the '80s. They're all really nothing but just rehashes. They have the same plots. They have the same inconsistencies. They have the same type of characters, the same tropes. As far as the Friday the 13th movies that came out in the '80s, most of them are trash because they're just inconsistent. Now, there are 3 films in the '80s with the Friday the 13th series that did do something. I mean, honestly, all of the movies have a great soundtrack. They do have a lot of great atmosphere, a lot of great suspense. Now, the ones that stick out for me the most, honestly, is Jason Takes Manhattan, The New Blood, and I want to say Jason Lives. And Jason Lives, I believe, is the one. I think it's let's see. No, the final chapter, I believe it is. Is it the final chapter? No, not the final chapter. A New Beginning. A New Beginning. New Blood, Takes Manhattan. One thing I like about the New Beginning is it's a different story. Yes, it has some of the same tropes, but it's a different story, and it has a new killer that's posing as Jason. I really appreciate that, and then we do get the character of Tommy and how the traumatic events of his youth are affecting him now. Really appreciated that. Thought it was done really well. Although that does have some points that I take away from it because of the same Friday the 13th, you know, tropes that they always tend to have. I thought it was still a good story. Although a lot of people didn't like it, I really thought it was good. The New Blood, Jason again is back on the scene doing his thing. He's dead. He's the undead super zombie now, but this time he's fighting a psychic girl, which I thought was really interesting idea. It was good. It was smart. I really appreciated that direction that they were going with the film and how her character actually has some backstory with Jason. You know, it doesn't. It isn't really consistent. Thought it was really interesting. And finally, Jason Takes Manhattan, badass movie. You got Jason super zombie mode on a cruise ship, just kicking ass. Goes to Manhattan, kicks some ass. Yes, the ending is stupid. Yes, there are some moments in the film that don't really make any damn sense whatsoever fucking ever. But again, out of all of the films that we've seen at the Friday the 13th franchise in the 80s, those three are probably the best ones. One of my personal favorite movies of all time and came out in 86, Little Shop of Horrors. It's a musical, it's fun, but the horror element comes from this plant that eats people. It's a great and fun movie. It's actually a classic. And it's just a good movie all around. It's fun. It has depth. It has emotion. Yes, it's not the traditional horror where people are just getting killed left and right and blood and gore and stuff like that. But it does have its really, really dark, horrific moments in it. And it comes from the characters and not just necessarily the talking plant. It's a great movie, though. So definitely check that out if you have not seen it. In another 86 movie that came out was Maximum Overdrive. Now I'm on the fence about Maximum Overdrive because I think it's actually an interesting story. Cars and all these types of vehicles that basically take on a life of their own and start killing people. It's an interesting concept, and I think Stephen King had something. I think there was a story by Stephen King. If not, there's another movie where the trucks and stuff and cars and stuff came out and started killing people. But I think this one was actually Stephen King. It's an interesting movie, and it does a great job of focusing on characters that have to deal with this weird and awkward situation. Now, Maximum Overdrive is one of those far-fetched movies. It's out there, but it has some really great moments to it, and I really do like it. I'm not gonna say it's the best movie, but it's still a pretty good time waster. Now I did say I like the first Creep Show, and then there is the Creep Show 2. I like that one. My favorite episode, and then I think it was the episode because it's the anthology, a horror anthology, so it's like 4 or 5 different stories in it. But my favorite one is the Raft, and in the Raft, these young adults end up getting on this raft in the middle of this lake, and then they end up getting attacked by this like black ooze stuff that eats living creatures. And so now they have to figure out how they're going to get off of this raft, otherwise it's going to eat them. Otherwise they're going to basically die. So it's really interesting. It's a good, probably the best skit on that one. Let me go ahead and check up the rest of them. I don't know why I'm just having like a really the Raft. The first thing that came up. I really did enjoy it though. It was really fun. It's probably the best one in my opinion. Let's see. Chief Woodenhead. I like that one too. I thought that was pretty good. These 3 dicks end up killing this old couple at the store with some money, and then this statue, this Indian statue, just comes to life and just kills the shit out of them guys. So that one was pretty good. I like that one as well. And the Hitchhiker. Yes, now this one used to haunt me when I was a kid. I was scared of this. In this movie, there's this woman that's driving home, and she ends up killing this guy in a hit and run. And afterwards, the the guy that she killed just keeps coming back. Like she sees him walking across the road, keeps hitting, he keeps just messing with her, and she keeps like hitting him and stuff. And then the more she's killing him, the more he's coming back more messed up. It's like a acid trip, like an acid road trip about ghosts, and it's a pretty cool one. It's probably one of my favorites. Like no matter what she does to this guy, he keeps getting beaten up worse and worse and worse, and she's killing him basically over and over and shooting him in the face, running him over. He keeps coming back, messing with her, and it's just crazy. Yep, it's one of my. I like Creepshow 1, but I have to say Creepshow 2 was better. And even though it isn't, in Creepshow 2 is 3 main stories, and in Creepshow 1 it was like 5 or 6. But this one I did like all 3 of them. I thought they all were great. I thought they all told a really good story. So I did like Creepshow 2. We have another Stephen King as well, Cujo, and it's about a dog that ends up getting rabies and just gets to just kicking people's ass left and right. Honestly, I thought it was a really good movie. I thought it was a really interesting movie, and it was pretty scary because what makes it a scary movie, really scary, is because a dog like that big, and something like that could really happen. Dog get rabies, and that was a big dog, so that dog was just handling people left and right. So it's it's like that. That's like a very terrifying thing. I like that. I like that. I like it when you make a movie about something horrific that can possibly happen that actually has some basis in truth and realism. Great. Nothing makes a horror movie more better than that. So Cujo is actually a good movie. I watched Jaws 3D. That movie sucked ass. It could have been better, but it just completely sucked. I watched The Howling 2, and I'm on the fence about this one because I like the idea behind it. In The Howling 2, there's this, I guess, queen woman that can control werewolves. And there's much more to the plot, but she's the main thing I like about the movie. This badass, fine chick that's controlling werewolves. And the movie's still stupid, though. The movie is just dumb as hell. But I like that concept. But still, if I'm going to be fair, I need to be fair about it. Yes, that movie is definitely in the worst. Even though old girl was pretty sexy, until I look back over it and be like, no, she was not that good looking. She was not attractive whatsoever. And for some reason, I keep thinking she wasn't really attractive. So I'm going to go with that train of thought. No, she wasn't attractive for some reason. We have Return of the Living Dead Part 2, and this one, it was just as stupid as the first one, but it's still fun. It didn't take itself too seriously, even though it has some really dark moments in it. There is one storyline between this girlfriend and this boyfriend, and the boyfriend turned into a zombie. I didn't like how they left that off. I wanted to see, yes, he killed the shit out of that girl, but I wanted to see her eat a brain or something. They did that stupid thing that these Return of the Living Dead movies do. They tend to, when somebody bites in somebody's head, they cut. And I'm like, no, I don't want to see a cut. I want to see them actually chewing. Don't give us them sitting there making noises. I want to see them eat the hell out of this person. But it's still a fun zombie film to actually enjoy and watch. Came out in '88. Okay, I'm going to jump into the Nightmare on Elm Street series now. And it goes from, and I've already talked about part 2 and part 3. So let's talk about 4 and 5, which is the Dream Child, Dream Master. This, again, is where I'm like, cool, I like Freddy Krueger, but the problem with the movies is he's getting too much comedy. It's less horror, more comedy. And I like the concept and ideas behind Dream Child, Dream Master. And honestly, I think that the movies should have been, both of those movies should have just been one movie. Tell a really good, which could have made, Could have told a better story. But I'm not gonna say it was a good. Those two movies are good. I'm not gonna say they were bad. I'm not gonna say they're best and not worst. I'm saying they're entertaining. They do what people want to see Freddy Krueger do, is kill people in creative ways, which I don't want to see that. I want to see Freddy Krueger messing with people, and I want them to figure out how to stop him. Um, of course, we do have one of the all-time ultimate, most badass alien invasion movies, and that is what Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Now, I'm not gonna lie, it's this movie is great for so many reasons. For one, the concept. It's an original concept. The execution of it is solid, actually. The effects are mixed. The soundtrack is awesome. It has a good mixture of drama, has a good mixture of horror, and has a good mixture of comedy. So there is that, and this has great amount of creativity behind it. Now there are some negatives to the film. The practical effects when it comes to the clowns look like shit. I'm sorry, they look just dumb. The clowns look fucking stupid. You wonder who in the hell came up with like the clown heads are fucking huge for like no reason whatsoever. But and some of the characters are just over the top. There's these two friends. Fucking hate those assholes. I was so pissed off that they survived. And then there was this dumb cop that was just over the top. I can't remember the guy name who plays him. He's a pretty famous actor, at least in the 80s and 70s and 80s and stuff. But aside from that, it's a really good movie. It's the comedy. It's got some comedy. It's highly creative. It's an original idea. Soundtrack. And has some really good, interesting, like it has some decent use of like the and the practical effects are a mixed bag. Like I said, as far as practical effects, well, I'll say this. Correct myself. Outside of the alien, the clown designs, the practical effects are good, and the story's pretty interesting. So, but Killer Clowns is a great movie to watch. Again, one of the favorite ones of the 80s. It's a great movie. I watched The Howling 5, The Rebirths. That movie was stupid. I hope the person that did that trash of a movie probably don't direct another movie again. That was dumb. And I don't like sitting here wishing harm on somebody's career and stuff. But if you make a travesty like that, no, no. And maybe someday in the future I'll make a movie that's just terrible, and I'll lose my career behind it. And to each his own. If I do it, then that's me. But that movie is just, and it goes back to what I was saying about the Howling series. It's just a stupid series. It's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. These movies with all these dumbass plots, these stupid whatever their incarnations of werewolves is very inconsistent. They don't make any damn sense. Just all around, just stupid. But I think for now, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right here. In the comment section below, guys, let me know your thoughts about any of the movies that I've named. Are they good? Are they bad? In your opinion, hit that like, share, subscribe, and that notification button to get the best of what's going on the Narik Chase channel. And stay tuned for another video when they are. And again, guys, stay tuned to the channel because I do put out videos every Thursday.